Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to One Mic, One Wheel, the show where we talk all things sim racing. So, last time out, we spoke with Jack Gooding, the owner of Inside Line Racing, about how he copes with all of the admin work that goes into running a successful league like Inside Line Racing, and where he sees the league going in future years as it has had major success in the past year of its existence. But today I have in the box of me an esports team owner. It is, of course, PXM Twisted. Twisted, very welcome to the show. Very happy to have you on.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here, Matt. Been watching your content and interviews for a while now, and I've loved this series so far. It's an honor to be on the show.
I'm very happy to have you. So let's go back to the very start when you were very young. What began that love and passion for motorsport?
Honestly, what had to be the start of my motorsport, my love of motorsports had to have been the 1998 Daytona 500, when Dale Earnhardt won after 20 years of trying his very first Daytona 500. I may have only been 2 when that race happened, but watching that, I felt connection to it. It was like something that I just could not get away from. And ever since that, I've loved cars. I mean, my mom and dad have grown up working on cars for years, and heck, I mean, they met in a motorsport or in a shop. So I mean, anyhow, just that race, it's all centered around that.
And I would assume that NASCAR is your favorite series to watch?
It is it's one of my favorite series, but I won't say it's the favorite series. I mean, it's my mainly watched series. It's mainly what I prefer to race in sim racing, but it's definitely not the number one.
Okay, good stuff.
Well, not easily number one. I mean, it's second behind. Like a very unpopular opinion, it would be second behind Formula E.
You might get some slack for that one.
Yeah, I figure I'm gonna get some slack for that. But the thing is that the thing that I love about Formula E is, yeah, you may not hear the engines, you may not have that beautiful sound of an engine you hear in an RC car, like noise. That may be the case. But the thing about Formula E over other series is how close those cars get, how intense the battles are during the races. If you look at it, it's more the action and the battles for position in there that I look at more than the sound. I mean, it's basically that simple. So
yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I do love a bit of Formula E, but we'll move from real life to sim racing for a moment. So, how did you get started in the sim racing world?
Well, that's a very good question. I've grew up playing racing games throughout my childhood, and in 2015, in 2013, 2014, I got an Xbox 360 and started doing minor, just for fun, drift events on there with Forza Motorsport 4. And that I didn't realize at the time it was sim racing, sim motorsports, as you would call it. Since drifting isn't really considered motorsport, but technically it is. That's really what I guess would be the official start. But what really what I really became known to as sim racing and motorsport and esports and stuff like that would probably be back in 2016, just after a few months after I got my Xbox One S at the time. I joined a league on Xbox called Gamepad Racing. Now, they were a small group, and what they did was they ran a series of GT3 races. It was a full every month, one race a month, every 2 months, whatever, that followed the exact IMSA calendar. And it was 2 hour. I think it was an hour-long endurance race at each of those tracks, and I piloted the Ford GT throughout most of that series. I didn't do too well, but I had a blast doing it, and that there led up to me wanting to go and find a team to to race in the following year's Tour 24 Hours of Daytona.
And that, of course,
Uh,
moves us nicely on to why did you decide to start Phoenix Esports?
well, this one is a very complicated question to answer because originally we didn't start out as Phoenix Motorsport. We started off as Twisted Racing Association, and that all started off with trying to with the fact of what happened after coming after the Tour 24 Hours coming up to that. I originally had planned on racing, and I had met GG Racing a few months back, and at the time he was with VSR. So I had inquired with him about trying to run with VSR to go and get my fix for the Tour Daytona 24. So I go and get in there. I start practicing with the guys, and I'm nowhere near close to being on pace with those guys. So they very politely declined my chance to race with them because of the fact that I'm not on pace. So I'm like, okay, how am I gonna race then? And now I remember I've still got a bunch of those people from the gamepad racing community that I'm still friends with. So I get a hold of them and a few other people I'd met in between the end of that series and the time where I'm forming the Twisted Racing Association at the time, and we get a good team of 4 people for that race. We going into that race we chose the C7 Corvette, and I'm gonna be honest, when I started this team, I didn't plan on it becoming what it is today. I originally just thought a one-time off event just so I could run the 24 Hours of Daytona. But after that race, we didn't do too well. We finished far back in the field. We started in C lobby, but we had a blast doing it. And the fun of that race, the fun being in the community, I was like, you know what? We're gonna stick with this. We're gonna make it something bigger. And we've grown through a bunch of hardships, a bunch of losing people, gaining people, joining orgs, and then the orgs falling apart or whatever, and that that there led to Phoenix Motorsport. Now the reason why we chose Phoenix Motorsport is because of this reason. Phoenix has known to rise from the ashes.
Hmm.
They're known as the birds that will, no matter what, after death, rise up. They'll burn to death and rise from their ashes to be born anew. Phoenix has struggled before we became Phoenix. We had been through so much nonsense that had been going on that we kept reforming. We didn't die off. We kept going through fixing things, rebuilding, and we got in a discussion with the team when the guys who were still there at the time we formed. There were like 4 or 5 people from the original team still with us, and we were like, "What are we gonna name this team?" And if I remember correctly, it was F1 Ben 23 at the time who suggested Phoenix Motorsport. And when I asked him why do you say Phoenix, he mentioned they rise from the ashes. And from there, I was like, that's a perfect name because it was true. We've come through so much, and here we are today.
That's really poetic. Can I just say that's a really nice background of the team name. I like that. So
Thank you.
well, how would you describe the atmosphere within the team? Would you describe it as like a family?
Definitely, that is something I've always prided myself on with this team. Is it's a family. A lot of teams I've I know that a lot of teams they consider themselves family, but for us, it's it's. I mean, we really do consider ourselves family. I mean, this team has been stuck together for a while now, and I mean, we've had people leave, we've had people come back, we've lost people, we've gained people, but even those people that we lose, even those people we have to dismiss, they're still considered family. Once once a phoenix, always a phoenix is the way we look at things.
Awesome stuff. Awesome. And what would you describe as the best achievements that you've achieved over the course of the time you've been running the team?
As a team, as the overall team, I'd say one of the best achievements would probably be the fact that we're still alive and kicking is the biggest achievement for this team because we've gone through so much and yet we're still here. Now, if we break it down to the F1 and Forza divisions of this team, the F1 division, we'll start off with that. Our biggest achievement is how we've rebuilt the F1 side after we lost about 80% of it just just after uh, just early last month. We started to lose a lot of F1. We lost a lot of our managers. We had to start rebuilding after that, and we've rebuilt pretty well to say the least. And I'm impressed with how we've done that. So I'd say that's the biggest F1 achievement is how well we've rebuilt, and what I look forward to seeing what our F1 team can do in the future now that we've rebuilt it and we're shifting focus over to it a little more than we had before. Now with the Forza side, our biggest achievement actually happened very poetically at the tour 24 Hours of Daytona back this year in January, where we got our first top 10 finish with one of our cars. Huge thank you to want to give a huge shout out to AMR who allowed us to go and borrow their driver Blackout for that race, and with his help, Blackout, our driver Karts, and a buddy of ours from a from an, the community racing that we've done before helped us pilot our Audi Quattrosport in that race to a 7th place finish in GT class. That finish there, I would say, is the biggest achievement that this team has had, and they were pole and B lobby, the highest we had ever qualified. So that's their biggest achievement for the Forza division.
So how do you cope with running the team, combining with that with your everyday life? It must take a lot out of you sometimes.
Definitely, with the hours I do at work, my trying to go and figure out what streaming and YouTube, which I've pretty much put YouTube on the back burner, and streaming I'm just now starting to get back into that because I've found that I've got more time. I've got this team's established pretty much now that I don't have to put so much effort into uh, getting things established, but I can let the team sort of run itself a little more. I've got the management in set to go and help out and let them run things a little more. It's stressful. It really is, especially coming up on big endurance events like the 12 Hours of Sebring coming up for Tora. That race there, always a tough one to get ready for, especially since I race in it as well. Being a racer slash team owner, it's not easy. It's definitely not. You have to go worry about trying to go and deal with getting sponsor or handling sponsors, handling the Twitter, while also dealing with your own personal life and trying to practice for the upcoming races that are happening as well.
It's a lot. I can understand
Yeah,
that.
it
It's a
is.
lot.
Especially trying to go and look into expanding as well, which a couple things. Stay tuned for those. Stay tuned. Got a bunch of things happening on this team. So
Yeah. Let's keep on moving. So, when you get an application from a driver to join the team, what qualities do you look for in that driver?
well, one of the things that we look for, of course, we look for pace, we look for speed, but it's more than just that. We look at what's their rep in the community. We've now a lot of people I'm already aware they're gonna be like he's full of nonsense on that because of some of the people that we have recruited in the past. Now I'm gonna clarify on that. One thing that I take and look at is does this driver have a chance to improve their rep? Do we have an ability to make this driver anew from his old rep and maybe start a new reputation and give him a place to change? And we've done that in the past. We're not gonna stop doing that. We're gonna give people a chance, a home where they can hone their skills and uh, possibly change if they need help. But we're going to do that a little more cautiously. But basically, we look for how well they get along with the team, how their reputation is in the community, and of course, overall pace and racecraft.
And have you met any of the guys in real life yet?
No, honestly, I haven't met any of them in real life yet. That is something I do want to do eventually, but as of right now, I have not done that yet.
Well, it's a little bit daunting, I know, meeting people who you've never actually spoken to face to face. So
Yeah.
it can be daunting, but it can also be a really enlightening experience. That friendships can be formed over the internet. So screw the haters. Um, so we're running out with two final questions now. So for people who actually want to get involved with a team, how would they go about doing that?
Honestly, if you're looking to get it into a team, first thing I can say is, I mean, look around on Twitter. If you don't have Twitter, look around on Xbox. Find people in lobbies, and and just have decent pace. And be polite. If you're looking to join a team, you see somebody who has this a few letters in front of the name, like like a PXM, AMR, VSR, ERL, ILR, any of those initials. You see somebody with that, and you want to get into an esports team, uh, politely message them. Go and say, "Hey, I'm looking to join a team. Are you on? You by chance have any ideas of how I can go about getting onto a team?" Sometimes some people may go and be a little aggressive with it. Sometimes they'll be completely helpful. It all depends. But they'll go and they should. In my case, I'd gladly go and I'll talk with you. I'll figure out what your pace is, what you're looking at, what your best, what you drive best. And I'd go from there. I If they're good, if they meet the requirements to join PXM, if they're what we're looking for, I'll go and give them a spot. And that easiest way is to just put yourself out there, show what you can do, inquire with people, and who knows, maybe you'll get a spot on a team.
And finally, Twisted, where do you see the team in a few months' time?
In a few months' time, I see a few. I see hopefully a few more championships on Forza, on F1. Well, on F1 maybe a few more wins. Championships I'm not sure because of the fact of how long the F1 seasons can be. But definitely a few, hopefully a couple of Torah championships or a couple Torah wins coming up with in the next few months. Getting some faster drivers, a couple more sponsors hopefully as well. But the few months time isn't really something that I'd ask. I mean, I'd see more few years time if you will. I see this team being or maybe this time next year, having quite a few fast drivers at the pace of carts on our Forza side, being able to get into the Forza RC qualifiers when they start up next year, in the summer of next year. And for the F1, I see us having a rebuilding our F1 roster to what the F1 roster was before we had our downfall, and getting that rebuilt to have people potentially in the F1 draft, ILR Tier 1, AOR Tier 1, the top tiers of F1 leagues is what I look at with what we've got now. I also see us expanding into some PC sims once they're out, like a Assetto Corsa Competitive Zone, R Factor 2, maybe some iRacing. I look at this team expanding beyond just console racing.
Well, unfortunately, I have to round out there. Twisted, thank you very much for joining me. Make sure to follow Phoenix Motorsport at PXM_motorsports on Twitter and see what they get up to in their journey through esports. So, Twisted, thank you very much for coming on, and we will wish you continued success with the team.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
And so that does it for another episode of One Mic, One Wheel. This has been episode 4 with PXM Twisted. I hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you next time out for episode 5. Thank you, and goodbye.